Hello everybody, welcome to the Crochet Lovers Crochet Podcast, episode number 9. So before I get started into all of this, I have a couple things that I would like to say. So I do apologize for the raspy voice that I had in last week's podcast, and I realized I forgot to put the pictures in, like I said I was going to, and the setup was kind of last minute, and I feel very bad about that. I feel very apologetic, and I'm sorry for that podcast. So this podcast is sort of to make it all up, plus this is to get the podcast started, I guess. So I plan on posting every Sunday, but we'll see if it actually happens or not. Which beware if there's a weeks where I don't post on a Sunday, just because I didn't crochet at all or little things like that. So I feel like that's all my announcements for the beginning. So I did my temperature blanket up to the 5th because today is the 5th, and I thought I would get some editing in tonight and post it first thing tomorrow morning, which is Sunday, the 6th. So, which is why the temperature blankets only went to the 5th instead of the 6th. And speaking of the temp blanket, I do have some things that I want to have some opinions on the temperature blanket, and there's some people that I want to shout out as well for that, so stay tuned to the end for that. So, let's just get started. But yes, I also added some more goals for myself as well, which I'll talk about with the temperature blanket too. So, one of my works in progress, I guess, I don't know, was I started working on a pattern. I got really inspired, and I wanted to make a banner, kind of like the one that Terry from the Yarn Joy podcast made with the bee on it. I wanted to make one of those, but have the cables on it and all those pretty things, and I started confusing myself, so I gave up on that, and I was really in the mood to just write a pattern, and I don't even know how to do cables to begin with on Crochet or Knit, so that was a stupid mistake of mine, but I hope I can get back onto that later. So what should I do? Works in progresses, finished objects. Okay, so again, I have a finished object, and I really want to show you guys, but the person that this is for, I know for sure doesn't watch the podcast, but I think someone that she's related to does, and I don't want anything, I want it to be a full-on surprise. And there is kind of a sneak peek on my Instagram. I won't say what picture, but there's a sneak peek, I guess. And then I did record a video talking about it. That way I can post into a podcast whenever I give it to my friend. So we're doing finished objects. Alright, so then it would be this one. Okay, so last night I wanted to go. I went on Raverly. Oops. And just because I'm not that good at reading patterns. Which is why I go on Raverly. There we go. And I look up dishcloth patterns, and I use those for practice. And I can do the basics, just not very well. Basically, I did a pattern last night. This is the Quick Dry Dishcloth by Ivory soap on Raverly, and the pattern is going to be in the description box below, as long as my Raverly and Instagram and all the people that I'm going to mention later on in the podcast and all that stuff. So this is what it looks like. I don't know if I'm going to post a picture or not. I don't know. But here we go. So this is a very wonderful pattern. I didn't have the best experience with that because, like I said, I'm not that good at reading patterns just yet. I'm practicing. I accidentally skipped a row. I was confused at parts too, and I had to frog it a couple times, which, you know, is part of the whole practicing part. I chained the foundation chain down here tight, which is why it's kind of like folding in. So I chained that too tight on accident, which is kind of made the whole thing a mess. And I think it could have gone better if with the length like that. Oops. Like this. Like a little square. So then I also skipped the whole repeat section as well, just because it was like 1 in the morning and it was getting late. So basically what the pattern sets to do was, it gave me 5 rows, and then excuse me, after I did those 5 rows, I was supposed to repeat 2 times of rows 2 through 5, and I only did that once. Once this would have been a square. But yeah, I really do recommend this pattern. It's just this beginning pattern and this variegated yarn that I use, which by the way is Sugar and Cream in the color Painted Desert. I absolutely love this colorway. I was gonna give this to my grandma. Like, this yarn was originally bought to make stuff for my grandma, but then I don't think I'm gonna give this to her. I think it's just gonna like tuck away, or for me to use, or someone in my family to use. Yeah, I don't think it's gift worthy, not yet at least. Maybe I can work on the pattern later. So yeah, there's this pattern, and I think that's all I have to say about it. Oh yes, so like on Raverly, whatever. When you go to look at the pattern, I'm new to this website, by the way, so I'm kind of like going over it. I realize how awesome it is. Like, you know how it will show you the pictures? Look at those pictures, because I realized I was doing something wrong until I looked at the pictures and I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. And the pattern is free, by the way. Okay, that's all I have to say about this. So, dishcloth. Okay. I'm just going to grab from my bag. So the next one is a work in progress that I just started last night as well. And this is in the my crochet bag. Just bag that I use as a project bag whenever I want, basically. It doesn't have a strap on it or anything. It's just a little bag. All made out of crochets. Okay, so on Instagram last night, I posted one of my people that I follow posted this quote that says, "Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and think about what could go right." And you can check my Instagram if you want to see the whole thing. And I posted a whole paragraph about it. And basically I said, this quote inspired me to do the all way around hat. I think that's what it's called. All around this roll, that's what it's called. Around this roll hat. This is what it looks like. By Ross from Smells Like Yarn. And I've always been scared for knitting, so just because of my cast on that I do, everything about it, I feel like it's gonna twist, or I don't know I misread the pattern or something like that. So anyway, I'm gonna take my time on this project. I will work on it when I need to, that way I'm not working on it when I'm tired, because I want this hat to turn out as it's supposed to turn out. I don't want to rush on it. It's a gift for myself. There we go. That's it. And I'm just really excited to work on this hat. And Thank you, Ross, for making this pattern. Okay, so here it is so far. This is the, okay, I'm using the Yarn Bee First Love in the color turquoise/gray multi. I have a cough. I have to keep on pausing because I don't want to cough in the video. Okay, so this is a weight 5 bulky, and the pattern calls for a worsted weight, but this basically is a worsted weight. It's only bulky just because it's kind of like a ropey yarn, if you look at it like that. So I just grabbed it anyway. Plus, I was having trouble figuring out which yarn to use, and my mom, she picked this one. I'm like, I agree with you. So this has grays, and then green and blues, basically turquoise/gray multi. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so I'm on my second row, and the pattern calls for, I believe these are 5mm. I don't know, I'm not that good at knitting yet. I'm practicing, remember? This is the ribbing that I'm doing right now for the hat, and the pattern calls for 5, I believe it's 5, 5mm US DPNs, and I don't have any DPNs, so I'm just gonna do the whole thing on this, and I hope it's gonna turn out the way it turns out. I don't see why it would turn out any differently, but let's just continue with what I'm going with. But yeah, so the pattern is very readable. I looked out through the whole thing, and since I'm like a beginner at this, like I said a couple times already, it's definitely understandable. There isn't that many, like, I'm sure if I was more of a advanced knitter, I would be able to get it done like that. That's how much I love the way that this pattern is written. But yeah, and also, you see the little stoppers I have? I digged them out from ages ago from a set that I don't even remember what it was called. So yeah, there is that, and I am very excited to continue working on this. And I made my own, I have a whole page in my notebook for it and everything, that way I can keep on jotting down little notes to myself. Okay. So I do have a picture for this one just because I know that this isn't going to fit. So this is the shawl. I finished it. Okay, so this was in the project bag. Well, I use it as a project bag. I use it for a lot of things actually. Right now it's a project bag made by Hooks Over Heels on Instagram. Here you go. I've shown it a lot on my channel already, and there's a whole video like designated like that reviews this and like everything like that. I don't want to say reviews, but kind of is reviews. Okay, so let me grab everything out real quick. So this was a very, that was loud, fun, quick pattern. So here's the shawl. There you go, there's the shawl. I'm not gonna unfold this just because it's gonna be huge. So the shawl was made using the Mandala by Alliance brand in the color Serpent. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. I say a lot of things wrong. Oops. And this was 590 yards, and this was how much I had left, and I wasn't going to play yarn chicken because I knew this wasn't enough. So good thing I didn't play yarn chicken because else I would have lost. And I don't like to lose. So yeah, there's that. And for the border, which I'll show you that, I used a Okay, since this is the granny stitch shawl, I did a granny border. Like, why not? I did the granny border. Plus, I just learned it, excuse me, in the, from the Jayda InStitches January snowman, which I showed in podcast number 8. Simple, but I just learned that border, so I applied it to the shawl. So I did that. So the border is in the brunette super value. The light is kind of going crazy. Oops. In the color yellow, and this is a very light yellow, and I believe this is the same color as this. It is the same color. This is weight 3, this is weight 4. But, so yeah, I did the border on this, and as you could tell in the picture, everything blends together, and I love it. So yeah, there's that, and I'm gonna put all of this away real quick. And so this was originally gonna be a Christmas present, but I can't wait. I'm gonna give it to her on her birthday, which is in March. So there is that. Okay, and then so last week I showed you guys how I was working on the blanket that said 529. I was working on that again, and here it is. So here's the picture. Yeah, so there it is. As you can tell, it's dramatically changed. I can't talk. From the podcast ago. Okay, so let me dig this out. I also gotta make noise. Okay. So this is in the color. Okay, wait a minute. Before I go too far. In the picture, it looks like it's a colorway of pinks. It's not. It's orange. Yeah, here it is. So the lighter orange, the lighter color you see, is in the color pumpkin. The brighter one, this one, is in the color flame. So pumpkin, flame, and then black. So basically, I had these as in the triangles already made in, let's put this back here and I can kind of show you guys. There you go. So I had the 4 triangles already made, which I've shown you guys. I don't remember which podcast it was, but you know, that was back then. I finished the number sign last week's podcast. So I had this in last week's podcast. Actually, I think it was this right here. And then the other night, if you saw my Instagram story, you saw me weaving in the tails for number 5 over here. Looks like a 2, but it's a 5, trust me. And then there you go. So I just continued with the pattern alternating colors, and I'm gonna continue that all the way around. So it's gonna say number sign 5, 2, 9, and so this is gonna continue going across, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do over to the sides over here, but I want to have a big color changing thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I think I'm just gonna have like alternating squares of, so like where the flame is at, I'm gonna have a square or pumpkin, and then, you know, all the way down. We'll see what I come up with. So basically, this is all I can do. I've assembled everything together. So I need to make a lot more of these rectangles, and 2 and 9. So there we go. There's that. And I am very proud with this because I don't remember when this, I don't remember, it's my cousin's birthday, but I don't remember my cousin's birthday, but that's the due date, basically. That's like when it's supposed to be done by. Okay. You guys, I finally did it. I finished. I put a border on that thing. Yeah, I did. Okay. So this is that thing over there. Is the second baby blanket. This is the one with the tile stitch pattern in the description box below. Last one's corner to corner, by the way. So it was huge, so I just put a little. I tied a string on it. Put a little bow. There we go. Call it good. That's just for storage for myself, and when I go to give it, I'll take that off. But yeah, so the border, I think this is a shell stitch. I don't know. I double crocheted 3 times in one stitch, and then I slip stitched into the next one. I did it all the way around, and I really like it. So that was fun. I liked that. It took ages, so I was watching The 100 on Netflix, and I love that Netflix show, so that's what distracted me while I did that repeating stitch over and over again. So there we go. Both of these are finished now, and we'll see when I give it to the recipient, but yeah, I'm excited. So that was my chair. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I said something about a temperature blanket. So here I'm doing granny squares. So here is my temperature blanket for 2019. Here's today. The chart is put away right now, somewhere safe. That way, when I say somewhere safe, I'm not talking like the Cozy Cottage Crochet does, because in her podcast, she was talking about how she put the pattern somewhere safe and she lost it. This is actually somewhere safe. I know where it's at. Plus, it's on my Instagram plenty of times. That way, if I do ever lose it, which I hope I don't, it's right there. So it was, these are like the 30s over here. And then, I don't remember if this one was 29, if this one was lower or higher. But then we got 40 and 50. Like, oh my gosh, this is unrequired. I like the cold, please give me the cold back while it's still that time of the year. It's not summer yet. So here's the granny squares. And this is just, I don't know if you would call this 1 round or 2 round, but I think we'd call it 2 round. So like, what I'm doing right now is I'm doing the magic circle. So I did the magic circle and then I do 1 round again. That is the size for that. And I'm attaching these together in the join as you go, which Jayda InStitches has a tutorial on that, and I mentioned it plenty of times. I love it. Yes, there we go. So this is a very interesting color swatch. I hope it goes back down to like my white color, which is negative. No, white would be unrequired. Just give me some cold weather, please. I know a lot of you guys are like, no, I don't like the cold weather. But if you think about it, global warming is coming. We want the cold weather, folks. So, I think I'm just going to talk about my crochet goals for 2019 again before I get into the whole temperature blanket thing. Just kind of split that topic in half and go on the goals before I forget about that. So, I added to my goals. This is my bullet journal. So, let's see. So, I added 3 more goals, basically to finish. These are like the big projects that I forgot about that I want to finish. That way they're not, you know, left in the dust. Excuse me one minute. Yeah, okay. So, like I said, 3 goals. So that is to finish the blanket which I just showed you, the one that says number sign 529. I want to finish that. And then finish the purple and gray crochet crowd summer stitch along. I want to finish that this year, and then finish the frog pixel art granny square blanket. Which, now that I think about it, I slowed down talking because I realized that I did work on that. I just made a stack of granny squares, and that's not that important. So now is your time to leave if you don't want to hear my opinions about the temperature blanket. But if you do, stay long, and if you don't, bye. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so I wrote everything down. These are like my notes, and I wrote my opinions on here too. So like for every project, there is pros and there is cons. I feel like there are more cons for the temperature blanket, as everyone feels that way. But there is a really good pro for this, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And so all these people that I'm gonna say, they're on Instagram, and I can't talk today, as you can hear, so their names are gonna be in the description box. So okay, so you can get easily behind on this, and you can just miss a day, and you can set yourself a free day just because you've been working so hard with your schoolwork or your job. You said, you know what, I don't have time to crochet this row or granny square today. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. And then we're humans, we procrastinate. that is what we do. So then it continues to grow and grow, and basically you are 2 months behind, you're 1 week, 4 months, and you have to work really hard to get caught up. So like I said, you can get easily behind just because this is a daily project for 365 days, and sometimes 366 days. A pro is that you get this big reward at the end. You feel so accomplished just because you finished this year-long project, and you're like, oh, you get to wipe that sweat off your forehead because you were working so hard. You put so much labor into this project, and you get to snuggle up with it on the couch, and you get to, put it on your bed, or do whatever you want with it. You can give it to someone. You get this big reward at the end. I'm so looking forward to that. Hoping that I don't get easily behind. So, I know a lot of people don't do temperature blankets just because they can be huge. I mean, depending on what size of, what hook size you use, and what stitch you use, and sometimes what yarn weight, it can get huge very, very fast. And if you play the measurements right, you can get it the right size. And maybe you want a big blanket, then do it that way. Do it double crochet if you really want. Oh god, don't do it. Don't do it treble. Oh, that would do ages. Okay, that would take up so much yarn. I've seen single crochet temperature blankets, and they are longer than 5 feet, so just beware if you're doing that. But again, if you play your hook size and your yarn right, then you can get it to what you want. So then, okay, it's not too late to ever start your temperature blanket. There's someone, I follow the temperature blankets for 2018 and 2019 on Instagram, and there's someone who started it in January and went up to 10 days, ditched it on accident for 4 months, or no, it was up till March, and then she goes, you know what, I really want to get this together. I'm going to finish this. I started it, I'm going to finish it. And I don't remember what it was. I think I saved it. I doubt it though. But she caught up months worth, 3 or 4 months of work of days or squares. I think it was squares. And she did it. So there you go. There's that. But I'd say it's too late when you get to March. March 1st, I think you're a little too late. But like I said, you can work on it. And again, these are my opinions on the temperature blanket. There you go. So these are opinions. Don't take anything personally. So Tegan and Lou on Instagram, she has a really awesome alternative to a daily temperature blanket, and I thought this was so cool. And I messaged her about it. Well, I asked her how I could sign up for the email, that way I can get updates to see how to do this temperature blanket. So basically, if I remember right, what she set up was, so it's the monthly thing every day, and so she has the chart and everything like that too, like how I have, but hers isn't as dramatic of like temperature changes. I think hers is like 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe even by 20s or something like that. So I think what she's doing is sections. I think it would make the more sense if she does it as sections. But anyway, so she takes the average temperatures for that month, and whatever temperature, whatever number that is, she looks at the yarn that's attached to that temperature like you would for normally, and that's what she does for that month, instead of doing an average thing. And I think that's such an awesome idea, which is why I'm shouting her out. And then again, in the squishy box. So then also, if you need some inspiration, I'm gonna try to post daily on my temperature blanket. So Faye maybe _crochet, she did a 2018 temperature blanket, and she did granny squares, and on her Instagram she posted a picture every single day of that granny square, and she posted it being set together, and she made the Instagram just for that. And I thought that's what basically inspired me to do the granny squares, but mine are kind of different than hers. If you check her out, you can see what she did. I think yeah. And then crafting.girl on Instagram as well. I messaged her actually on a post of hers, and she's doing temperature blanket for 2019 too, and she's doing the single crochet rows back and forth. Awesome. And we live kind of nearby, which is why I messaged her. I'm like, hey, we can look at each other's temperature blanket. And there are a bunch of others too. If you follow these hashtags I'm about to tell you on Instagram, then you have all of the inspiration in the world, because there are thousands of people around the world doing this, and I think it's so cool. So the hashtags that I'm a part of, basically for like every single post, is every post relating to the temperature blanket is hashtag 2019 temperature blanket, hashtag temperature blanket, and hashtag temperature blanket 2019. So there you go. And I believe that is all I have to tell you. But then again, who knows, something might come to my mind. So that is the end of my, I don't want to call it a rant just because, you know, it would be a rant. That wasn't a rant, that was me stating my opinions, I guess, but just kind of a rant. I don't know, it's confusing. There's my opinions on the temperature blanket. There we go. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.